Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats, and today I'm going to talk about a book that is not a 2016 debut. I'm going to try to review it, but I can't guarantee I'll do a very good job. I literally just filmed myself talking about this book, and it was so bad that I stopped and started over. But that book, I don't want you to think is bad because of my inability to express how wonderful it is, because it is wonderful, and that's why I'm talking about it. And that book is I'll Meet You There by Heather Demitrios. So this is the new adult-ish book that I have always wanted. It's technically not published as new adult, it's technically published as YA, you can see on the spine from my library, but I believe that it fulfills a lot of kind of new adult requirements. And what I love about it is it's like this romance between characters who know what it's like to struggle with poverty, who know what it's like to struggle with being in what feels like a dead-end place, who know what it's like to struggle with losing people that are very close to them, and done in such a really great way. And I loved almost everything about it. I only had like one or two small problems with it. This, if you didn't know, is a contemporary romance. It stars Skylar Evans and Josh Mitchell. Skylar is getting ready to go away to college to escape this town she's always wanted to escape, and dealing with all the emotions that go along with that. She has just graduated, and it's the summer after graduation. She just has to make it through the summer, and then she's free and clear. She'll be in San Francisco at college studying art with a scholarship, and she's an artist, and she's a collage artist, which is very interesting in the way it's portrayed. What I like about her is she is dealing with this idea of always wanting to escape this place, but loving the people that she's leaving behind as well, and things come up that challenge whether or not she feels like she can leave them because of some of the problems that they are having. I'm trying to be specific but also vague, and at the end I'm going to give you a list of things that I feel like this book deals with very well. Josh, on the other hand, is just coming back to this small town after having escaped, kind of failed to escape. He had joined the Marines right after he had graduated from high school, and he no longer has one of his legs and is sent back to recuperate before he decides whether or not he wants to stay in. And he is also dealing with kind of the psychological ramifications of having been in a war zone, of having lost many of his friends, and of having the survivor guilt of being the one who survived. And so these two are just fascinating and amazing characters. Watching the way that they kind of circle each other in this slow burn is great. Watching all of the baggage each of them brings to this potential relationship is really well done. There are some moments where people make very poor choices and you are yelling at them, but Heather Demitrios manages to write about it in a way that feels real, and it pains you to read, but you also feel like this is not, I can't explain without potentially spoiling things, but like it makes it clear that it's not okay, but that also like some things need to be worked through. And it's I have so many positive things to say about this book. I loved almost everything about it. There's some things that it deals with, I think, very, very well, including kind of this idea of a soldier who has this survivor guilt, who has kind of this PTSD, who doesn't know how to fit back into this town. He thought he'd left, and people have these expectations of him, and he doesn't feel like those are necessarily like the right expectations of him. I love the way that Skylar cares for her family and her friends. She has two really, really close friends, one of whom is also escaping. His role in her life is very complicated. They both have kind of made this pact that they wouldn't, get caught up in relationships, that they wouldn't get caught up in the things that people in their town usually get caught up in that makes them get stuck. And the way that has drawn them closer together and helped them get through school, but also the way it's affected people around them who do live in that town and who they love, is dealt with in the book in a really great way. That character is Hispanic or Latino, and his family is as well, and that's kind of an interesting dynamic. He's like super good at math and gonna go become an accountant. And then her other best friend is such a great best friend, and she is kind of the cautionary tale stereotype that you hear. She got pregnant in high school and gave birth, and she has a 6-month-old kid, but she is still super in love with the father of her child. The father of her child is still super in love with her. She is like, it's hard, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it's just really interesting to see that presented in a way that's not like romanticized, but also not like demonized. This book deals with what it's like to lose a parent. Skylar lost a father several years before, but in circumstances that were not necessarily like blameless on his part. Nobody is ever labeled alcoholic in the book, but like people who abuse alcohol are very human, and not in a way that dismisses their abuse of alcohol, but in a way that makes them seem like a real person, if that makes sense. Poverty is dealt with, and it's something that you don't usually see dealt with in romance contexts. I can't express enough my love for this book. I would just challenge all of you to consider picking it up, especially if you read young adult or new adult romance. In my headcanon, I have this headcanon for after the end of this book that like they're super not codependent and they've worked it out, but I was a little worried when I was reading it that it could kind of romanticize a slightly codependent tendencies, but otherwise I just loved this book so much. And please read it and let me know what you think, and if you have read it already, let me know what you think down below. And if you have recommendations for young adult, new adult, or adult romances that deal very realistically with lower income people, I would love to hear your suggestions, because I worry sometimes that like romance is too aspirational in the way that it's like, oh, rich people get to have love and others don't, and like it's nice to have things that are aspirational, but also like I want to believe that our lives can have things like love even when we aren't millionaires. But I wanted to recommend this to you because I didn't hear about it from a ton of different places, and I would not have bumped it to the top of my list if I hadn't had two separate people recommend it to me. And so I am suggesting it to you now. Put it on your list, bump it near the top. Please consider reading it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.